The first time it fell off was a Tuesday. I came home late from a job site, still dusty, and found the dining table set for one. Her plate was in the sink. She was in the living room with a blanket and her phone, screen angled away like I was a tax audit. I stood in the doorway and waited. She glanced up, the way you check a weather app, and went back to scrolling. "Rough day?" I asked, dropping my lunch cooler by the chair. "Normal," she said. Not even a look. That normal told me more than any speech. We used to trade stories over meatloaf and bad TV. Lately, it was two people in one house, on different stations. I told myself it was a patch of gray sky. Patches pass. You hang a bit of faith on the clothesline, and it dries. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have put up a roof right then. The slide wasn't dramatic. Quiet is cheaper than fireworks. She laughed less. Any question felt like paperwork. Calls came late. She'd step into the hallway to take them. She'd turn the phone face down like it offended the coffee table. And then the evenings apart. Her with the girls, or I just need air. Me with a pan and a podcast, cooking for one out of habit. When her sister, Lily, started stopping by more, I didn't fight it. Lily is younger by 2 years, works in nonprofit fundraising, the kind of person who makes everyone else sound undercaffeinated. She'd bring over a pie she found at a farmer's market, or a plant with an unpronounceable name, and the house would feel less like a waiting room. One Saturday, Lily and I ended up in the kitchen while my wife jumped on a call. Lily leaned on the counter, picking at a peel of label on a jar, eyes moving like she was deciding whether to step into traffic. "You not seeing it?" she asked, voice soft. "What am I missing?" I dried a plate I'd already dried. "She's off. Weird off. You two okay?" "Probably just tired," I told her. That was the official line, like it was on our letterhead. She nodded but didn't buy it. She never pressed. That part came later. Scene at home became a rhythm. My wife would drop a quick jab because jabs feel like nothing until you add them up. "You're not wearing that to dinner, are you?" she'd say, passing by in a dress that looked like a dare. "Wasn't planning to show up in a toga," I'd reply deadpan. "You always have a comment." She'd smile at the wall. I adopted a strategy. One clear response per jab, no echo. That's the rule in construction too. Measure once, cut once. Don't keep hacking because you're angry at the board. The first boundary landed on a Wednesday when she texted at 7:10 p.m. "Out with Paige. Late." I replied, "Copy. I'll be in the shop Thursday night. Don't wait up." She wrote back, "For what?" "Exactly." I put the phone down. I moved my late nights to earlier, poured energy into the custom cabinet job I'd taken on the side. Work doesn't laugh at you across a room. Work pays attention if you do. At the shop the following evening, my foreman, Tom, a man who treats silence like a tool, watched me lay out a door panel. "You're pushing hours again." "Only thing that doesn't argue," I said. He tapped a knuckle on the cherry slab. "Wood doesn't lie, either. Warps when there's moisture. You see warping." "Something's off," I allowed. Tom nodded once like a verdict and went back to his mortiser. He's not a counselor. He's a mirror. At home, it turned from cold to cute in public. Friday nights we used to do trivia with neighbors at a bar 2 blocks over. We went out of habit. My wife arrived 20 minutes late with Paige in tow and a story she told with volume. "You should have seen him. Some guy at the lounge thought he could keep up with me," she said to the table, and put a hand on my shoulder like pit stop service. Paige grinned. "She always turns heads," she told me, a little too pleased with herself. I looked at my wife. "In a school zone, I hope." "It's called fun," she tossed back. "Fun is cheap until it costs something," I replied. She clinked her glass with Paige's. "Don't be dramatic." I didn't lecture. I instituted a change. I moved trivia night. On the way home, I told her, "Next time, I'm going with Tom and his wife." They asked, "Easier crowd. You're ditching our friends?" "I'm ditching the part where I play prop." I unlocked the door and held it, polite as a doorman. That was the first public line in the sand. Lily noticed. She shot me a small look that said both, "Finally," and "Be careful." A day later, I got the first softness. My wife was in the kitchen in one of my old shirts, eggs going in a pan, coffee brewing like she'd been practicing this scene. "Truce?" she asked, putting a mug in front of me. "On what war?" I leaned against the counter. "I've been distracted. Work, friends, whatever. I know you don't like it. I'll try to be better." She pushed the plate across like we signed contracts in bacon. Trying is fine. I'm updating my calendar anyway. I kept it even. I'm doing a Saturday at the shop, and I'll handle my own dinners this week. Clears the fog. So we're scheduling our marriage now. She smiled, but it was a test. We're scheduling respect, I said. I can live with a plan. She exhaled like a show of relief, then kissed my cheek. It looked like a thread sewn back into fabric. It held until the next snag, which took less than a week. The next Thursday, she texted at 9:30 p.m., "Don't wait." With the girls. Might crash at Paige's. I stood in the garage, wiping glue from my hands, and read it twice. There's the sentence where you pretend you didn't read the sentence. Then there's the adult response. I put the phone away and changed course without announcement. I moved 2 personal checking autopays to my own account, took my name off her streaming plan, and moved the shared grocery budget to a prepaid card with a set limit. No speech, no drama. Logistics is honesty. Friday morning, Lily appeared with a bag of bagels and an apology face that wasn't hers to carry. She texted me last night, Lily said. Asked if I could feed the cat if she stayed out. She's got a cat. I answered, and Lily laughed despite herself. Sorry. Jokes when I'm stressed. She watched me clean the coffee machine. You sure you're okay? I'm fine, I said. I'm adjusting. I can stop coming by so much if it's weird, she offered, real concern in it. That's not the weird part. I handed her a mug. And your family? We sat at the island, and for 10 minutes there was ease. She had a way of making silence sound like music without pretending. I caught myself smiling at nothing. I put the smile away. Files go in drawers, not on desks. 2 nights later, coincidence, sure, my wife invited herself to my shop. That's foreign territory for her. She brought nachos and a playlist, like we were 20. This place is kind of cool, she said, looking at the clamps on the wall like they were art. I try, I answered, flipping off the compressor. She hopped onto the assembly table. I miss us, came out, light as a napkin. What part? I asked. The easy part. We used to be easy. We used to be honest, I said. I didn't raise my voice. I rarely do. She slid the nachos my way. I can stay more. Be around. Less nights out. It was the second softness, heavier than eggs. Right on cue, right after money got more structured. She angled my face toward hers. Deal. I'm not standing at a pawn counter, I said. But I hear you. It worked for 4 days. Then Saturday at a neighbor's barbecue, she chose a new lane, public teasing. It starts as banter before it turns into eviction. You know what's funny? She told a small group around the grill. Eyes on me. He has a spreadsheet for everything. Even socks. I took a sip of tea. Only the left ones. Control freak, she sing-songed. People chuckled, like you do when you don't want to be in the splash zone. Better than a chaos hobby. I replied, short. Lighten up, she said. Already weighed down, I said, and turned to help Coach Randall, who lives 2 doors down, flip chicken. The laughter died on the vine. She switched to stories with Paige, gassing it up. Another mark on the wall. That night, I implemented another adult fix, separate bedrooms. I set up in the guest room cleanly. No sulk. When she came up and saw the bag, she stood in the doorway like she caught a draft. Really? She asked. Really, I confirmed. Until we figure out what we are, let's not pretend. So we're roommates? We're 2 people with a mortgage, I answered. I'll be civil. I expect the same. She snorted. You love rules. They save time. I turned a page on the book. That killed the argument. There's nothing to push against when you go quiet on purpose. Lily came by Sunday again, this time hovering in the hallway like a referee who hates whistles. Want help with the backyard? She asked. Always, I replied. We trimmed hedges and talked about weather and a street fair and everything that isn't a problem until her hand brushed mine as we passed the rake. It was nothing and not nothing. She noticed it too. She didn't run. She didn't flirt. She just stood there, steady. You're a good man, she said finally, almost frustrated. I'm a simple man, I corrected. Simple is rare, she said. We went back to the hedges. Days rolled. The rhythm got predictable. Cold, tease, ignore, soften. Then the push. It came a week before New Year's, at a small holiday thing her friend group put together at a rooftop space downtown. I went because staying home would have sounded like a concession. I don't concede by staying home. I concede by drawing a new line. She was in party mode. Glitter dress, bright eyes, all teeth. She did the circle with Paige and another couple. I stayed near the windows with a cider, watching the city pretend it's new every December. She came up, looped her arm into mine like we just remembered each other. "Smile once," she said. "I'm smiling inside," I told her. "Can you not ruin this?" she asked low. "Define this," I replied, not even turning. Paige joined, already loud. "You two are cute when you fight." "We're not fighting," I said. "We're editing." My wife rolled her eyes. "He's always editing." "Quality control," I said. "You should try it." She pointed at my ring. "You know that means something, right?" I looked her in the face. "It used to," I said. "Now it's a paperweight with a story." She laughed too hard, turned to the circle, and held court. "He thinks he's a philosopher. He's a carpenter with a thesaurus." "Carpentry pays for the party," I said, not moving. "Philosophy is free." Tom and his wife, Dina, had come at my invite. Tom drifted up beside me. "Storm's moving east," he said, not about weather. "Not my first roof," I answered. Dina cut in, protective. "You good?" "I'm done being furniture," I told her. That's when the kill turn showed itself, simple and predictable. A guy from the gym walked up to my wife and fed her a line so corny you could put butter on it. She ate the attention like it was dinner, did the lean in, the laugh too loud, touched his arm as if she were checking blood pressure. I watched for 20 seconds. No jealousy, just a measurement. I set my cup on the ledge and turned to Tom. "I'm done here." "With the party?" he asked. "With the script." I squeezed Dina's shoulder on the way out. "Text you later." In the elevator, I called a number I'd stored for weeks, a divorce attorney a contractor buddy had used just to make a tough season clean. I booked the first slot Monday morning. Decision made. No speeches. I went home, opened a blank notepad, and listed logistics. It took an hour to erase 2 years of accumulated tangles, separate accounts, car title checks, key copies checked out, a storage unit reserved, movers on standby for a small job. Adult Tetris. Monday, I was in a chair across from a woman in a navy suit who treated feelings like irrelevant footnotes and paperwork like oxygen. Perfect. We covered assets, house options, what we both earn. I asked for a template that didn't punish anyone, just separated. "I don't want to torch the field," I said. "I want to leave it clean and quick, then," she said, and slid the forms. I signed where people sign when they're finished. By Wednesday, I had a folder in a drawer and a date on a calendar. Papers ready, his signature done, hers pending. I called a locksmith and scheduled him for January 3rd at my new place, a short-term furnished condo near the river. I mailed myself a new set of keys to the shop, canceled one shared gym membership, and emailed my wife a simple note. "Budget shift start January. Let me know if you have any recurring charges you need moved." No emotion, just facts. Christmas slid by like a truck on ice. We did the minimum. She stayed out more than in. I kept the guest room neat enough to show to a realtor. Lily came by Christmas Eve with grocery bags, and an apology I shut down before it started. "You don't need to pick a side," I told her. "I'm not," she said. "I'm picking decency." We cooked. She chopped herbs. I handled the roast. Music low, lights normal. A couple of times our hands collided reaching for the same bowl. Each time, both of us paused like we heard our names called in a crowd. Neither of us moved closer. That was decision, not fear. New Year's Eve, my wife texted at 6:22 p.m., ringing in at Paige's. "Don't wait." "Enjoy," I replied. "I've got plans." My plans were city quiet. Lily and I, 1 bottle of sparkling wine, 2 steaks, and a board game she was bad at and didn't care. We worked in parallel like a familiar crew. There's a kind of silence you can only get with somebody who doesn't need an audience. "Tonight, I have a surprise," I told her as we set plates. She glanced up, cautious and lit at the same time. "That sounds dangerous," she said, smiling small. "Reasonable, not dangerous." I covered the folder on the sideboard with a cloth napkin. Midnight crept closer, the neighborhood popped a few illegal fireworks, and the TV mumbled a countdown. At 11:58 I stood. She looked confused but didn't stand to. "I want one clean sentence before we start another calendar," I said. "I don't want to do pretend. I care about you. It isn't casual. It's not a crisis, and it's not a secret inside me anymore." Lily didn't breathe for a beat. You're married, she said, not an accusation, just the fact standing politely between us. I filed, I told her. 2 days ago. Papers are on the sideboard. I'm not asking you for anything you can't give. I'm telling you I'm not going to lie to either of us. She came around the table without drama and set a hand on my forearm like you steady a ladder. You didn't have to choose me. You could have just left. I'm choosing honesty, I said. You happen to be in the room. She laughed then, relief and nerves. I hate that that line worked. It's not a line, I said. Midnight hit. We clinked glasses. Lily hugged me with both arms and didn't let go early to be polite. It wasn't any movie scene. It was two people letting weight off. For 10 minutes, we didn't plan the fallout. We just existed without a firewall. 1 week later, the front door opened at noon like it still belonged to her. Technically it did. She walked in with a tote bag and a smile people bring to brunch. It lasted until Lily stepped out of the hall bathroom with damp hair and a towel over her shoulders. What are you doing here? My wife asked, voice very clean. Shower broke at my place, Lily answered. I asked if I could. My wife looked at me. We're doing that now? In my house. I kept my tone level. Nothing has happened behind your back that wasn't in daylight, I said. There's a folder on the table. Papers inside. I signed. You can too. She stared. Then she laughed, short, brittle, almost impressed. New year, new you. New year, hold me back, I said. You know what's wild? She said, tossing her bag onto the couch. I have a draft on my phone that looks just like those papers. That tracks, I answered. You've been rehearsing the exit while keeping my place warm. Don't do the noble speech, she said. You're not a saint. Not my brand, I said. She looked at Lily, then at me, then at the folder. Something in her relaxed in a way that had nothing to do with kindness. It looked like relief that the labor of pretending was over. She crossed to the table, read, flipped pages without hurry, and signed where she needed to. I guess you two have a lot to talk about, she said as she recapped the pen. And I have a lot to pack. You have a week, I told her. I'll be out in 2 days. There's a storage unit with your name on it for overflow. The utilities split January 10th. My name comes off the joint card this afternoon. So this is your victory lap? She asked. This is housekeeping, I answered. She looked past me to Lily. You good with being the sequel? It was a cheap shot. Lily didn't flinch. I'm good with honesty, she said. Everything else is none of your business. My wife's smile cracked, microscopic. That's what losing control looks like. Not screaming, not a scene, just realizing the levers you pulled are no longer connected to anything. She picked up her tote, walked upstairs, and started opening drawers. I left her to it. I took Lily to the porch with 2 mugs and air that didn't need translating. You okay? I asked. She nodded. It's unreal, but it's clean. Clean is the point, I said. 2 days later, I moved into the condo with a bed, the essentials, and a tool chest that has seen more apartments than I care to count. The locksmith met me there, swapped cylinders in 10 minutes. I sent my wife a photo of the mailbox key and the forwarding order so she could handle her mail. A bland courtesy is sometimes the best boundary. Within a week, the house was sold to a young couple with a stroller they were very proud of. We split the proceeds by the document. She took her car and 2 credit lines. I took mine. No fireworks. Fire extinguishers. Then came the social cost, which is what she had been managing this whole time like a PR campaign. Paige tried a group dinner, tried to make it a story where I'd be the storm cloud. I went, because hiding is surrender. At the table, she started with her tone. So, you two are really doing this, Paige said, looking at me like she'd discovered a crime. It's done, I replied. We're being decent adults. Paige smiled at Lily, thin as a receipt. And you're in the middle of all this. Must be awkward. Lily took a sip of water. Awkward is lying to everybody, she said. This is just new. Paige glanced at my ex. You okay? My ex lifted a shoulder. I'm fine. I laid one more boundary, publicly, succinct. For the record, I said to the table, the narrative is simple. 2 people were done. We signed. We're moving on. Any other version is gossip, and I won't fund it with explanations. Coach Randall, who never talks unless it matters, nodded from across the table. Works for me, he said. The conversation moved, because that's what happens when you remove oxygen from a small fire. Paige sour smiled and gave up the theater. My ex didn't argue. That's the day she lost the last lever, public image. Nobody clapped. That's not how adulthood works. But the room understood. That was enough. Lily and I went slow. We made it a policy. For the first month, we didn't label anything. We cooked. We ran at the river trail when it was too cold for people with sense. She teased me about my sock spreadsheet exactly once, then kissed my cheek in the parking lot like she'd signed a receipt and was satisfied. The shop thrived. I hired a second apprentice. Tom admitted a grudging respect that sounded like an insult. "You didn't make a mess," he said one afternoon, squinting at a scarf joint like it owed him money. "You just took out the rotten beam." "Beams don't change," I said. "They can," he replied. "They just don't pretend as well as people." Around the 2-month mark, Lily met me at the condo with 2 coffees and a new tone. "I'm tired of being the careful version of myself," she said. "You want reckless?" I asked. "I want real," she answered. "Reckless is for teenagers." "Then real," I said. We drew our lines clean. We kept our separate spaces a while longer, on purpose, adjusting the pace to something human rather than cinematic. That's not romantic. That's the only way it doesn't break. I did see my ex once more in a meaningful setting, a home goods store 2 towns over, where we both reached for the same set of plain white plates. We froze, an old reflex. "You take them," she said, stepping back. "I've got a set," I answered. Condo didn't come empty. She studied me like a puzzle she used to enjoy and now remembered she never solved. "You look lighter." "I am," I told her. "You?" She lifted her basket. "Figuring it out." I nodded at the aisle. "Good luck." "Likewise," she said, and that was the end. No post-scene. No ellipses. By spring, the condo turned into a house with a small yard and an oak tree that parked 2 chairs under it whether we sat there or not. I bought a used F-150 with cash because it was a tool, not a trophy. The shop picked up a contract with a local designer who loves real, would like it's a religion. Saturdays, if we weren't delivering a built-in, Lily and I took coffee on the porch, talked about the tiny victories. The basil actually lived. Her campaign hit its numbers. I learned to cook fish without turning it into regret. I heard through the small-town pipeline that my ex moved into a rental across from a dog park, then into a smaller place with a roommate, then into a job with an unpredictable schedule. No disaster, just reality. When you build on attention, you have to keep feeding it. It's expensive. She learned the cost. We didn't discuss it. There's dignity in not peeking over fences. I don't hang an inspirational poster on any of this. I built a life and then rebuilt it because the structure cracked. You don't cry at the beam. You replace it. People think strength is a shout. It isn't. It's an invoice and a calendar and a clean goodbye. On my last afternoon in the old house, before the new owners moved in, I walked the rooms quickly, checking the outlets I'd installed and the door I'd rehung twice because the original hinge placement was stupid. Lily waited on the porch, patient. My ex's lavender candle scent still hugged a corner in the bedroom. I opened the window and let it out. Not because I hated it, because it didn't belong to me anymore. On the way out, I left one item on the kitchen counter, a silver house key and a post-it note that read, "Leave the light for yourselves, not for ghosts." The note wasn't for my ex. It was for the couple with the stroller. Start clean. Don't run someone else's script. When I shut that door, I didn't do it slowly like a movie. I clicked it like a normal person and stepped into afternoon sun. Lily handed me a water bottle and the smirk she uses when she's proud of me but refuses to say it. "Let's go home," she said. "Let's go anywhere," I replied. She grinned. "Anywhere with you works." That's not poetry. That's logistics too. Wherever we are, we carry the rules we wrote. Clarity, speed, no pretending. The old year took our tradition of sitting in the same room and feeling alone. The new year took the door off its hinges and made space. Call it what it is, not a victory lap, just a life that fits. And the last thing my ex said to me that mattered was nothing. Silence is a sentence. Sometimes it's the only one you need.